You've got questions? She's got answers. It's Ask Nurse Lisa.
Hello everybody, it's Nurse Lisa here, and you're right on time for your appointment here on Ask Nurse Lisa. Well, today is confession day. Yes, I do have a confession to make. Nurse Lisa has always been an advocate of preventive medicine because it's much, much easier to prevent something than it is to cure something, no matter what it is. I've also been, in my defense, I've also been an advocate of people taking charge of their own health care. In other words, just because a doctor or nurse wants you to do something doesn't mean that you have to do it. Your health care is a personal choice, and that's whether you live in the kind of healthcare model that we have in the United States or you live in a public sector healthcare model type of world. The choices are still yours. You can refuse to go to that appointment. Sometimes there are, of course, strings attached, and many times the healthcare community is putting strings on certain things, like, I won't be your doctor if you don't do this. In my case today, on my day off, I got my first mammogram. Now you're asking, Lisa, why would you put off getting a mammogram? You're an RN, you've been taking care of patients since 1980. Why would you do that? If you look at my family history, there is not a history of breast cancer. There's also not much of a history of cancer in my family at all compared to heart disease and other things. Cancer was just not one of the big issues. So it just was never high on my priority list. So I never scheduled one. Well, when I went to my last checkups, both physicians that I went to said, we want you to go ahead and get a mammogram. We insist that you get a mammogram. And I finally broke down. And I was concerned about the cost because currently I am uninsured. Even though I'm working full-time as a registered nurse, I am a contractor. So, of course, contractors do not get health insurance with their employer. So I've got a pretty serious problem with that. And, of course, I have a medical history, so it's not really that easy for me to get health insurance, even though I've had health insurance most of my life through my employers or through my parents before that. Anyway, so when my doctors were insisting that I get this mammogram, I did some research. And I researched finding the best alternatives as far as cost and things, and looked up to see if there were any options for me, for someone who doesn't have insurance, for someone who doesn't have a lot of leftover money to pay to, pay a radiologist and all that kind of stuff. Well, breast cancer is one of those healthcare subjects that there are organizations that are out there doing things for breast health. In other words, offering free mammograms. Being that I don't have a history of breast disease, being that I don't have health insurance, and being that I've never had one done, I was able to get a mammogram and, of course, have it read by a radiologist within the next 2 weeks at no charge to me. And it will be sent over to my physician, so the next time that I go in and see her, I will have that done. Now, also I had heard people saying oh, it hurts, it's uncomfortable, it's so embarrassing, it's so humiliating. You know what? The things that have been done to this body by the medical community, by very terrible people, you know, there's a part of me that just doesn't want to go through pain anymore. So I've heard people, you know, women go on and on about this, and I'm like, really? I've seen the machine. I've seen what they do. Could it really hurt? Well, I'm here to set the record straight. Number one, I have very sensitive breasts, and I guess I had concerns about that too, but having the procedure, it was no big deal. It was absolutely no big deal. And I am ashamed that there are people out there who would tell other men and women that that is a painful procedure. Because it wasn't. There was no pain whatsoever. So, and the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because the woman that was supposed to go after me and have the x-ray done after me, she was discussing that with the staff while she was signing up her paperwork. She says, you know, I have arthritis, I have other painful conditions, and I'm really not wanting to do something that's painful. I don't know if I can go through it. And she literally was saying all of this to the woman before her procedure. The woman tried to assure her that it was no big deal and that she would be just fine. And of course, the same woman, as soon as I walked out after having the procedure, was asking me, you know, was it okay? Did it hurt? Did it hurt? And I said, no, it doesn't hurt. I said, you're going to be fine. And I'm just here to set the record straight. Take care of your own health, because you're the only one who's really responsible for your health. You are responsible for doing your research, from finding a free alternative to getting the care to actually knowing what's going on with you and your body. Like if your doctor tells you that you need to take a certain medication, learn everything you can about that medication. If the doctor says you have a condition, learn what you need to learn about that condition. Anyway, this is Nurse Lisa confessing my big confession to you. My family, my friends, my viewers who've watched me over the years and who have given me respect as a medical professional. And I really appreciate the respect and the questions that you've sent me. And by the way, I'm back open. The clinic is back open for business. So you can send your comments and questions and your videos in WMV format, your video questions, to asknurselisa@yahoo.com. asknurselisa@yahoo.com. And I will answer your question right here on the show. If you haven't seen some of the questions that have been answered, some of them are really, really great, and they have been so creative and so helpful to other people who want to know answers to some of these questions. So, this is Nurse Lisa, and I will see you hopefully next week.